Hello. What follows is an excerpt from The Path and the Power, which is my edition of the Tao Te Ching, a new interpretation, and the commentary. And this text is going to become available on PDF to people who sign up for my newsletter, which is just going to be a kind of a monthly update of everything that I put out in terms of teaching, videos, information, news, things like that. So as just a little incentive for being on that newsletter and keeping up with what I'm doing, you can get a PDF copy of The Path and the Power. I'm going to be reading today from chapter 55, The Power of Embracing Life and Death. He who has the power of the path is like a child. Insects will not sting him. Wild beasts and birds will not attack him. The child's bones are soft and his sinews tender, but his grip is very strong. He knows nothing of the union between men and women, yet his phallus may erect from its own inner energy. He cries the whole day without becoming hoarse. This is because of his own inner harmony. He who understands this inner harmony knows the mystery of the path. He becomes a true sage in the flow of the eternal. To know the eternal is to become awakened. But to seek to prolong one's life is doomed to ill omen. To engage in the practices of the inner fire or the vital breath or mental effort from this impulse is falseness and brings woe. Things reach their prime, then age. This falseness of seeking to prolong life is moving against the flow of the path. So it is futile, because whatever struggles against the flow of the path dies young. The comment. This chapter is called The Power of Embracing Life and Death because it expresses how you cannot embrace one without the other. To seek to embrace life, but to try at the same time to reject death, is an impossibility. It creates falseness. This is a subject that has been addressed in several earlier chapters of the Tao Te Ching, but in this chapter, what is emphasized is the quality and gain, that is to say, the power of embracing life and death. When someone is flowing on the path, he becomes like a child in the sense of becoming eternal, constantly renewed, fresh, alive, innocent of energy. He doesn't need to struggle. He does everything naturally. This is what is meant by wild beasts and birds will not attack him. It's a known fact that babies, although very weak in musculature, are able to hang from a line for long periods of time. They have an incredible grip. It's a natural grip, a natural holding on to life. It requires no effort or strain on the part of the child. Likewise, a young baby knows nothing about sex, but he might get erections. The Tao Te Ching attributes this to the inner energy that the child carries within. Taoist alchemy teaches that there's a link between sexual energy and the energy of life itself, as this energy is released over time. There's no strain in this situation, no desire that causes this baby to get an erection. It's just a natural function. Likewise, a baby can cry and cry and cry for hours without losing his voice. This is again because his crying is completely natural. There's no struggle within him. When he wants to cry, he cries totally, so he's in harmony with life. The Tao Te Ching is teaching that you can have this same inner harmony. By understanding the eternal, by becoming natural in the moment, you become childlike. An infant, unlike most adults, doesn't engage in a constant struggle of resistance against what are their natural actions. They aren't held back. They don't have inner conflict, so they are, to certain degrees, total. They aren't dedicating part of their energy to hold back or work against what they're trying to do. Instead, they're trying to do that thing totally. If you can be total, then you can be childlike, and you will understand the eternal. On the other hand, the Tao Te Ching teaches that to seek to extend your life through various methods is doomed to failure. Jesus taught, "He who seeks to save his life shall lose it, and he who seeks to lose his life shall save it." Well, this is the same teaching. The techniques that are mentioned in this chapter, like prolonging the breath or the inner fire, are techniques of Taoist alchemy. The wise use them to be transformed and to become aware of the eternal. The foolish use these techniques because they believe that they will extend their lives and even become physically immortal. The esoteric teaching that hides within verses 3 and 4 is very important. It's from this very fear, this very effort to try to hold back, to prolong life, that keeps you from being total. It is why you, unlike a child who doesn't know death, have that inner conflict, that hesitation. You fear that whatever you do might bring you closer to death, as though somehow you could avoid it. The Tao Te Ching makes it very clear. Everything reaches its prime, everything ages, and everything dies. This is the natural way, and to try to hold fast against this is falsehood and doomed to failure. Remember, a long life is not nearly as important as a life lived well, and death is not the enemy. It's not some unfair tragedy that you should be entitled to avoid. It's the same for everyone. There are much worse things than death, namely, not living in the first place. And when you seek to avoid death, you avoid living. Every little fear that eats away, trying to tell you to hold back or look out, to be careful, because you might lose your life or your things or your constructed sense of self, this is what has already killed you. The Tao Te Ching makes it clear. There are people who walk and talk and eat, but who are dead. And there are people whose bodies are nothing but dust, but they're alive. There are people who made it to the age of 108, but hardly lived at all. And people who died at 28, but knew the eternal. This is the real meaning of the final line of this chapter. Whatever struggles against the path dies young. It doesn't matter if seeking to extend your life means you get to be 108 years old. You died the moment you decided that just being alive was more important than actually living. The people who live based on their fears, on holding back, who are not natural and flowing with the Tao, they're the walking dead. They've died young. You could be dead 80 years before your body stops working. The moment you're dead is the moment that you stopped choosing to live in the freedom of your totality and started residing in that little coffin that is your fear of loss. But the dead can rise. Don't hesitate. Break free from your own coffin. That's everything for today. Sign up for the newsletter and you'll get a free version of the PDF form of The Path and the Power, the Tao Te Ching. And please subscribe to this channel. And feel free to share this video with anybody you think would be interested in it, or anyone who really needs to hear the message of this chapter about the real secret of Taoist longevity. Thank you very much.